Well, good evening, Star Wars fans, Star Wars players, Star Wars aficionados, coming to you live with another exciting episode of Holotheatre. I told you I was going to be back. Joining me
Yeah,
tonight is my co-host Robbie Hendon. Robbie, how you doing?
I am doing well. How about you, Dan?
You
Welcome
know what?
back.
I'm not doing too bad. It's a Wednesday. I'm glad that you and Jerry came up and were able to take over the duties from me last week because I was out in Arizona enjoying some time with my family. So, yeah, I mean, I had a good time, but I'm more than glad to be back. I enjoy doing this. This is one of the more fun things that I actually do during the weeks. So, but joining us tonight is eventually is going to be one Greg Shaw. We finally got Greg on, and to me, that's a big doing.
I mean, Greg's usually always been, um, pretty easygoing. I guess that he might be busy with work or whatever to
Hmm.
be able to get on work and family.
Yeah.
He puts family above Star Wars for some reason, but
Well, you know what? When you have a family, it makes sense.
I
Yeah.
guess. I mean, I wouldn't know, so
Yeah. Same. So yeah, I don't know about you, but we are in the finals for Texas Mini Worlds. How about that? Uh,
yeah, it's been a long time coming.
yeah.
I mean, we started this back in August,
Was it
so
August?
yeah. I mean, it was like the second weekend of August, August 10th, I think, is when
Jeez.
we started.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it's been going for quite some time.
Yeah. It didn't.
Um,
It doesn't feel like it was back in August to me, but at the same time, I was bounced out of the first round of the top 16. So
right. I mean, I didn't get to play, so the only thing that was hard for me was that first weekend. After
oh
that,
yeah.
everything else, was a
I'm
blur. So
never. I'm gonna say this. I'm never gonna play and do what I did again. That for
yeah,
me was just way too much.
yeah. I've run some events and I've run indoor. I've run
Hmm.
worlds and things like that, and none of them were that exhausting. Even though it's a lot more work running a in-person event, you tend to still get 10 hours between rounds to sleep versus
Yeah, yeah,
6 or 4 or whatever we were getting. So
yeah.
um,
Because I know you and we were up Saturday morning. Crack. For you it was what, like 5 a.m. For me it was
yeah, I mean I was up at
3.
4:30, but
Yeah,
yeah, I mean we went live at 5 a.m. my time, 3 a.m. your time.
yeah.
So that means you and I were both up, a
Two.
fair bit earlier, yeah, just to get ready, get breakfast, prepare for this marathon
Yeah.
of a day that was about to take place. And then, we were there all day Saturday. I think was that day your power
That
went
was the
out, so
day that my power went out halfway
you got
through.
yeah, it was like you got a little bit of a nap, but not much of one, and then
Yeah.
came back and helped out. And then Sunday we were both back up at 5 and 3 a.m. ready to go,
Yeah.
and
And I think
you
I
you
had to
quit a little
be.
early to get sleep before you played, which was understandable. And
Yeah.
yeah, somehow I managed to carry on until 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock
It
at
was
night, and then
eight
at that
o'clock
point I was like,
on Sunday.
yeah, I mean, at that point, I literally looked at everything and was like, here are the final results. You want anything after this? It'll have to wait until Monday, Tuesday, because I'm dead.
And
I'm going to
I don't think anybody is complaining about
bed.
that because
Yeah.
so yeah, we've got a lot going on. So like I said, we are down to the finals of the Texas Mini Worlds event.
Yep. Two
The
number one seeds.
two number one seeds. Actually,
Yep.
no.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Shaw and
yeah.
I had
Well,
I had MHT as the number one seed.
oh, that's right. Yes.
He was my eighth one, but he was the number one, and he was in competition with a couple other two seeders,
Hmm.
but he got there, based on time zone. But I mean, he was never lower than a high number two anyway.
Yeah.
So, and the only reason he was even in the two range was us thinking he could be rusty more than anything else.
Well, I mean, he did come off. He did play in the NPC that was online earlier this year,
Right,
and I want to say he lost in the second round to
right.
Adam Trunzo.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Like
So,
you're just not sure when people take a layoff where they're going to come back
hmm.
at, and you tend to want to give people who are or who were some of the or who was one of the better players to play, a little
Yeah,
bit of a benefit to be able to just jump back in. But
you would hope.
you know, yeah, I mean it's still hard. I mean, I don't remember the last time he played before NPC, so we'll have to see. I'd have to look it up, but he did take a few years off, and I
Yeah.
know his main playtest buddy Tom Kelly wasn't around lately to really help play, but he jumped on a good team with Joe and Eric and their guys, and
Hmm.
were able to. He was able to get some good games in, get well prepared, and I mean he went 4-0 league play,
Yeah.
and his first loss was to Kessling, this week. I don't think he lost
Yeah.
another matchup. I mean, he
Uh,
might have lost some of the second ones where he drew up where it didn't matter because he was already ahead from the first one. It's hard to say in match play because,
yeah, it's
you know,
match play.
right.
But like,
But
yeah, and you said it. So I mean, he just got done playing Mike Kessling about a little under 2 hours ago.
yeah,
So that was a really interesting match. So
yeah,
uh,
I unfortunately missed it because I thought it started later. Time zones are still confusing.
time zones are literally. I thought it started later too, but for those who didn't watch, Matt and Mike Kessling played their first game yesterday.
Right,
It was MHT's QMC deck versus Kessling's court.
right.
And right there, MHT is behind an 8 ball essentially, because that's
Yeah,
just a stupid hard matchup for QMC because court has probably one of the best space packages in the game.
yeah,
Well, for Dark Side at least. And then
right.
once you get past that, you're doing that. You get that ping damage from the objective and everything. It's just a hard matchup. And
Right. It's a very quick deck.
mm-hmm,
You get your guys to the audience chamber real fast, and you're causing drains and quick damage, and then you can set up at Now Hutta if you need to, or even just
yeah,
go to Bespin with your pullable ships and start going from there. And QMC is losing cards before they get a chance to do anything, and I don't think Matt
mm-hmm,
played a gift to really slow that deck down
yeah,
and force them to find Probot. But Court nowadays has so many ways to find Probot that it's ridiculous. So you could
mm-hmm,
find that and
yeah,
break a gift, and you're back to that square one again, trying to play from behind. It's a brutal matchup, and Kessling is one of the better court players out there.
Oh, looks like we might have a
Yeah,
Greg
a
Shaw,
late entry.
but they like as we
Yeah,
said, Mike ended up winning that game by 29,
yeah. He
and
messaged me afterwards and said he messed up and could have won by 31.
oh,
Because he four strained and
mm-hmm,
MHT had 2 cards left. He lost one and then he used keeping to take the other one out of his force pile,
yeah,
and so he was able to draw up in Kessling's turn essentially.
mm-hmm,
And Mike should have just not drained, battled, and retrieved 2 and won the game that way, and he would have been at
it happens.
31. Yeah, so
So fast forward from that game to today's game, they played game two. Mike came down with Throne Room, and MHT came down with ISB. Ah, there's Mr. Greg Shaw.
there's Shaw.
How you doing tonight,
Up,
sir?
guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
we can
just
hear
actually
you.
going
Okay.
over some of the MHT versus Kessling game that just ended today.
Yeah, we were about to just start on that.
We don't need to talk about that.
Yeah. So MHT actually came back, won that game by I want to say like 31. It
Yeah,
was an extremely well played game by both players. Very meticulous. Like,
Kessling would disagree with you, but yeah.
well, I know. I mean, Kessling had a good run. I will say that.
Yeah,
And MHT, like I said, it was MHT played almost perfect. And he had to.
right.
He was down by 29. There were points in the game where he was down to like 27 cards in his life force, and we're just like, okay, is Kessling gonna draw up and win? Didn't turn out that way, and MHT will be moving on to play our special guest star, one Mr. Greg Shaw. So, Greg, how does it feel to be the first person to come out of the Texas Mini Worlds, uh, your bracket essentially, and come into the finals?
It's pretty exciting. I guess I was a little more excited while I had teammates to root for. They've dropped off up against some good competition. So that was a little disappointing, but no,
Well, you
definitely excited. It's been
out, to be fair. You knocked
what's
two
that?
of your teammates out.
Yeah.
You knocked out Matt Lutz and Taco Bill. Oh, no, you did knock out Taco Bill.
I
Lost
knocked out one.
Joe, so you just knocked out one.
Yeah. I did avenge Taco Bill.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But yeah, it's been an awesome tournament. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, it's been different types of fun too, right? Like early on, we had the mass chaos weekend of everybody jamming in a bunch of games, and that was a lot of fun. Like you have your pod plays and you're just grinding out your games, and then when you're not playing, you're sitting there like watching all the streams and bouncing around trying to catch other games. So it's been a lot of fun. Now we're in the second segment where they schedule these matches and everybody tunes in, and that's fun too. So yeah, the whole tournament's been a lot of fun. I think even if I wasn't playing, I would still be extremely excited to follow everything that's going on because it's been cool to watch competitive Star Wars happening.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean we've kind of missed that this year with all the COVID stuff. So it's been nice different. It's been nice having everybody get together, even just to watch games. I mean, that weekend was a lot of fun having all of us in chats and things like that and talking and just hanging out. Even though Dan and I were quite exhausted by the end of it, it was still a lot of fun.
I mean you guys feel free to enlist some more volunteers for next time. You guys did a great job, so I don't mean to take away from that. For everything that was going on, it ran so smoothly, and it was a blast playing in it. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I've already made suggestions to Show and Thal and Scott and everybody for Worlds. Going, we need more help. Like, I thought I could do it because I've done hosting for events by myself and done everything, and it's been fine. This was just entirely outside of the scope that I ever imagined as far as what it took to run it. So hopefully for Worlds, this was a good test run so we know what to expect in the future and can make it happen.
Yeah, and for just this tournament that you threw together, we got 62 people signed up. So if we have Worlds with even more fanfare ahead of it,
right?
Who knows how many people that will be? What's that?
It's 63.
63. So with Worlds with even more people signed up, it'll probably take a lot of volunteers to make things happen.
Yes.
Right.
So if you're watching right now and you have no desire to play in Worlds, talk to Robbie, talk to myself, talk to Scott Lingrell. We'll get you signed up if you want to participate in Worlds. I know.
First of all, if you have no desire to play, what's wrong with you?
You know what? I'm going to say this. I've already told Scott I'm more than willing to sit Worlds out and help and do as much as I can. Only because this is going to be a different beast this year. Like Worlds itself is, you need a lot of volunteers. You need your streamers. You need your tournament directors. You need people to help with the organization, everything. This is going to be a lot more intense. You need, I would say, at least 4 people for dedicated commentary. Plus, you need your tournament director. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to be involved in this one just because it is looking like it's going to be an online event only.
Right. I mean, depending on how they do the schedule, we could have people play and volunteer for some of these things like we did for this, and that would be great. I told Scott and Schoenthal, I said, hey, look, if you guys want somebody to run it, cool, I'll do it. I'd like to play, but I know my place in the community is running events because I have done it so much. I suck at playing, so there's no reason if I need to take up space for there.
You just got to play at a team
event. What if they change Civil Disorder and ability to deploy modifier of 1? Does that move the needle for you?
They would have to blank them off of the deploy modifier for me to actually want to play. And even then, I mean, Lightside Synod is so bad. I mean, you should know that. I mean, we've played it. How many times you've played against me playing it? And I mean, that one game you literally had Fett and was it Fett and who was it? I can't remember the other guy you had in my Senate, but they had Palpatine and Mon Mothma as captives, and Fett didn't have his maintenance cost because it was canceled in the Senate because his game text was canceled. It was brutal. So, I mean, Light Sin is not in a good spot, but you know me, I'll play whatever and have fun. So,
And that makes sense.
Yeah.
Apparently, one Bill Kafer has gone undefeated with Lightside Senate this year in the OCS.
I mean, it's not impossible to win games. It's just got some really big holes depending on what you do. And against people like Shaw, like they're gonna know how to attack it. Like Shaw's not gonna sit there and let me get all my busted effects and do what I want to do. He's gonna know how to disrupt it and make my life difficult. So
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you're playing too. Some decks won't have as easy of a time disrupting it either, right? I know if I'm light side and I'm up against Dark Senate, I'm going to be happy if I have a deck that's running like Anakin Skywalker and Padme, and I can drop down and draw Destiny and an Attrition Destiny and start clearing some people out. But if I don't have those cards, then you got to come up with a different plan. So
and
Senate's always around. I have a light side Senate build too. Bill's talking about his light side Senate that went undefeated. I played a game or two with a light side Senate deck too, so it's always in the back of my mind.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those decks where I think it's fun to play. It's very skill intensive to play.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't give you much room for mistakes anymore. You can't just rely on removing all their answers and getting a giant beatdown because you drew 2 Destiny 9 for battle. You can't really do that as well anymore. And so it makes it's in a different place, and it's still fun to me. But I mean, I played it at the NPC, and Stubbly had Hunt Down, and oh god, like that's not a matchup I want to see with Lights in it. And he made a mistake where he played Force Lightning used before in my deploy phase. So I dropped R2 down to where Vader, or it was Emperor and Vane at the Holotheatre. I dropped down R2 and Obi and Ray and battle, swung hit. But he had the Gick, but it then turned that site into a battleground. And I had 2 EPPs there, and all of a sudden now Hunt Down's on the back foot. And because he didn't have any space, I controlled space. So I had space and a battleground on the ground, and all his stack was at the other battleground. So, it put him in a rough spot, but I got lucky. He made a mistake with the Force Lightning and played it used before I deployed R2. So, but
yeah, so how are you feeling about Texas, Greg? I mean, you just got done beating Joe Olson, and I believe you played CRG before that. And I mean, you've been playing a lot of the Legend deck, so that's going to be good for you, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I can. I have a lot of decks kind of at my disposal, and I think it's because as a team, as a new allies team, we talk so much about all the different angles and all the different options. So yeah, I think I played probably the majority of my games were with no idea this year, and then I tried working Legend in a little bit more towards the end. But there's always stuff that we're talking about. We're staying fresh on what decks are good in the meta and how things are shifting around and what different builds of different decks can become relevant all of a sudden. So, I don't feel locked into any one deck or anything like that. I feel like there's a lot of tools available. So we'll start chatting with the guys and we'll see what we come up with.
And how are you feeling about Dark Side? You've been like I said, is ISB the deck to go right now, or is there an outlier deck like a Court, a CCT, maybe even a Watto?
Yeah, I mean, all those are options. I think there's even a couple more options than that. It all depends. Like, I mean, one thing in match play is like you've got, you know what decks you're comfortable with, but you also have to think about what decks your opponent has seen you play. What decks have you seen your opponent play? You start, thinking about all. You start thinking on another level about matches, and I think I feel like I've made some pretty solid choices, and again, that's I've benefited from talking those things through with my team, and so it'll be the same thing, same approach for the final match with MHT. We'll talk. We'll come to the conclusion of what decks we think are best, and then we'll put together some lists that we like.
So, another question for you would be: you've been playing this game for quite some time. You've been on a lot of teams. You've teamed with some of the best players. How would you rate this new Allies team?
I don't know if I've ever been like officially on a team before. We've had like
collaboration.
Our Jersey crew was kind of a team. Yeah, I've collaborated with people before. I'll call myself an ally to KTOD, not a member though.
Right.
And
I think you knew where I was trying to lead that question. So we know you collaborated with Justin and those guys before. So
yeah,
it's curious to see because you've collaborated with them. You've collaborated, I think, with Chew on that team as well. You've had Scott Lingrel and Chris Gogolin and Taco Bill, and then now you're with B-Fred and Kessling and those guys. I don't know if you've ever teamed with like Joe or anybody, or collaborated with them. But I mean, you've seen how all these guys work together. So
yeah, I don't know. It's just a lot of fun. I think this is the first real team that we've kind of put together in the age of GEMP. So it's different in that like playtesting. When I was in my collaboration with KTOD phase, that would be like, me and Steve or me and Justin each driving like 2 or 3 hours to meet at a Panera to jam like 6 games or something, and then that's the end of the day, and that takes up a lot of time to do something like that, and the rest of it you're theory crafting, you're messaging back and forth or whatever, and so now that we have GIMP and now that we're in Slack, it's a lot more efficient to run through different iterations of decks, playtest different matchups. It helps that I think as a team, we're in different parts of the country. So a couple different things, right? Everybody's bringing a different perspective to what they think is good, and what their strategies might be. So I think that exposes us to all different types of play styles. Some teams, if everybody thinks so similarly, they end up getting inbred on what decks they think are good and how they define the meta, and then they end up going into a Swiss format with holes in their game because they haven't considered everything. So I think that's the different play styles benefits us, but we also have people geographically scattered. So there's like, I'll wake up or get a break from work and I check in with the Slack team, and there's like multiple conversations on multiple deck threads, usually driven by Drew, and other people chiming in with their thoughts, and it's just there's never a dull period for us. We're just always talking, always throwing ideas out there, talking about different options, why they're good, why they're not, and it's the discussion's always moving forward. Even once we think we have a deck in a good place, 2 weeks later we've shifted 5 cards out because we came to some new conclusion that there's a better build out there, and then we're onto it. So I don't know, things just move really fast. It's exciting to have a team that we have a lot of people, that helps too, but there's just always action happening, and it's a fun group of guys too. It's Kessling's drinking buddies. So how could you go wrong?
I was gonna say, it seems like you guys have a bunch of active players, which really helps.
Yes.
A lot of times you can have a big team, but you're gonna have people that are checking in, checking out at various times, and not always participating. And from watching just at Texas Mini Worlds, where this kind of team, really formed just beforehand, I think, right? It wasn't for the NPC, I don't think.
New allies for the NPC this year. Yeah, we've been a team.
I was gonna say, because you guys were talking
about prior to Continentals last year, we were a team. I'm trying to think if it went back even further than that, but we've added it. It initially started in there was a Worlds in Minnesota even before that, right? So I think that's when we first started talking, and it was initially me, Taco Bill, Kessling, and Jeremy DePaulo, and we started adding. Obviously there's some other guys in Atlanta that were immediately in the mix. Frodo, Drew when Drew started playing again, and then Gogolin, and then Brian Fred and Matt Scott, and then the Minnesota guys we started hanging with, and we drew in some more Minnesota guys. Now we've got, I think we're up to like 16 or 18 is the official count. We've just got a lot of people.
There's nothing bad about that, though.
No,
like I said, when it comes to NPC seeding,
more play styles, more input. Maybe next year at the NPC, we'll just have an entire bracket to ourselves, and the best player to come out of New Allies can take on the world.
Yeah. It might have to be if you keep adding people.
Yeah. Well, I think with Goglin and you and Bill essentially making the brackets, it could be possible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Gogolin
Yeah.
usually runs it more than anything. Although this year
He
he kind of
plays.
played. I mean, he plays in it because usually like live events,
Yeah,
it's Greg's in, but
Yeah.
I know he took more time to focus on running it this year than probably playing or play testing probably.
Yeah, go in collaboration with Scott, do the heavy lifting on getting things actually organized and put together. And for this past NPC, I was pretty much absent for the actual bracketology portion of it. So give
Well, that explains
Chris
why I
and
was
Bill
rated
credit
so
for
low.
that.
If you weren't around.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with that. So if there were any decisions that you guys didn't like, you can remember that I wasn't involved.
Yeah, I mean that's why I thought I was rated low. I was like, well, Shaw would have rated me higher. Shaw knows that I've beaten Greg Shaw. He knows. He knows where I play.
I've got respect. Yeah, I've got respect for Robbie's game.
I mean, we've had some battles over the years on some of those, like some of these very grindy games of going down to the wire. So I mean, there's definitely been. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I've gone to Texas to play in tournaments, and I've had to put civil disorder or ability into my decks because I know the math just means I'm probably gonna play Robbie, and so it's worth it to put this one card in my deck.
I honestly think we've played at the last 2 Texas Mini Worlds twice, both times. Like we inevitably get matched up, and then for some reason one of us wins, and then we get rematched up, and I don't ever literally the next round we're rematched up, and it's like, all right, well now the other person gets revenge. I think it's happened 3 out of the 4 or 5 times we've played at Texas Mini Worlds, and. Actually, the one Texas Mini Worlds, we got matched up in the consolation event too.
That's the one I was thinking of. Was that the one where I left home one in my deck box?
Was that? No, that was actually in the next year's actual. Yeah, that was actually a game. The consolation one's the one where I had 2 1s to draw to take down home 1, and I drew one of them and didn't have enough. I was 1 short of taking out home 1. But the next year's the one where you left home 1 in your deck box, and he figures it out 20 minutes into the round. He's like, do you mind if I get it? And I was like, I'd rather us restart, but we don't have any time because we spent 20 minutes watching you look for home 1. We both know what he's doing. I even know what he's doing. I'm like, where's home 1? He's got to have it somewhere. Yeah. And he's like, well, it better be one of these 3 4s I used for Walkling's effect. And it wasn't. And so he starts digging in his deck box. He's like, oh, here it is. I was like, well, crap, this game doesn't matter. So it was his only ship. He was playing Throne Room against Dark Senate. His only ship was in his deck box.
It was gonna be rough without.
You know what? I think Greg was like, I'll give Robbie a handicap.
Well, I think the year before was the one that we played. I think the year before was the monsoon. No, the monsoon came later. Never mind. I was thinking the year before was the monsoon one, but that was the later Texas Mini World where we tried to actually stream, and you and I ended up on stream that QMC versus Hunt Down. And I thought I was losing that game from turn 2. He had turn 3, he had 3 Dark Jedi on my sights on QMC. And I thought I was done.
Close it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
it was
scraped and clawed my way back.
Drain 1, retrieve 1. Yep.
Yeah. It was brutal.
Jedi out, turn Visage on.
Yeah. So
I remember that one.
Yeah, we've had some battles over the years.
Yep, sure.
So I mean, I always enjoy playing Greg Shaw. Every time, even those grindy games where we sat there, we have fun talking and just hanging out. It doesn't even feel like a grind. Watching Brian Fred play at Texas Mini Worlds where he's grinding out and just about ready to die afterwards, that sucks. But I've had those matches against Shaw and we're just having fun laughing the entire time.
May I say something about Brian Fred? I still feel bad for with his luck this year in Texas Mini World.
Yeah, we apologized to him last week with me and Casey did that.
I actually listened to you guys on my way back from Texas or from Arizona, so I had the phone going on, but I didn't have you guys actually on the screen. So I like how this week we have a dog instead of a cat.
Well, my dog made an appearance last week. She's behaving and staying off to the side, but she may get a little annoyed that I'm not paying attention to her in a little bit.
So Greg, we do have a question for you in the chat. Jeremy Napolitano asked, have you ever played MHT in any of the big stakes events before?
Yeah, there's two that come to mind. One I think was an NPC, and this was pre-reset because I think the matchup was communing against Hunt Down V, and I think I was on communing, and I think I won. I don't remember if it was one game. That might have been the pod year. I don't remember the exact details except that it was Legacy. I think I was on commuting. He was on Hunt Down V with no space, and I'm pretty sure I won that one.
Okay.
And then the other time I can think of was the Toronto Worlds, which was also Legacy. That was the last Legacy Worlds. And I forget if that was one game or a match, but I was on Black Sun maybe, and he was on communing, and I just couldn't play a solid game, and I got smoked by him in that game.
Yeah.
So I think we're 1-1 in big event matchups. If he's around, maybe he can correct me.
Yeah, I actually was going to try and get him on tonight, but he said he had some work to do. So maybe next week if he is victorious against you, or we'll see about next week.
Yeah, I don't know when y'all are planning on playing.
Yeah.
I posted I posted to try to make it for a weekend so we could have a really cool stream, but don't let that like restrict you guys. Like y'all play when you can and make it easier for you guys.
Yeah, I know he's halfway across the world, so whatever works out as far as timing goes, we'll have to roll with that.
Just don't interrupt any football games.
I don't know. Football season hasn't started yet, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
Eagles are 0-2.
We have to wait until they get past the COVID stuff first.
Yeah.
So, University of Houston's canceled 4 games already this year because of COVID. They can't get a game. Every time they schedule one, their opponent has to they have to back out because they don't have enough players because they've got people in quarantine. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So shifting away from Texas Mini Worlds for a second, you're also, not only are you in the finals for Texas Mini Worlds, but you're also in the top 16 for the OCS. We had the draft 2 days ago, and I want to say it was Steve Baroni who ended up picking you. Yeah. And literally, he was I think he was the last person to pick, and it was either between you, Joe Olson, or Eric Hunter, and he decided to pick you. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I wasn't too shocked. I know Baroni has a pretty good record against me. I think the last time we played in an OCS matchup, I won. But I don't think I had very many victories against him all season long. I think I was probably 2-4 or something against him, or maybe 2-5 between games with him and Justin. So I feel like he's probably feeling comfortable about the decks I will play and how he can match up against them.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't too surprised about that, but whatever. My bracket for Texas Mini Worlds was called the Derail. So we didn't.
That's fair.
New allies didn't really get to derail KTOD in that tournament, but maybe I'll have an opportunity to do it in the OCS playoffs.
Yeah, because you know what? I mean, you have Baroni in the first round, but in the second round, you go right into Justin Desai,
he's playing one of the Europeans. I forget his name.
Oh, Tom Damon.
Yeah.
So it's either Desai or Tom Damon. So you possibly have to go through the only 2 members of KTOD.
That's fine. You got to beat the best if you want to.
There you go.
If you want to be the best, right?
I think I said this to Grogelin the other day on the stream, and because everybody was talking about nobody wanted to pick Bastion, and I'm just well, if you want to play, you got to beat Bastion. If you want to beat the best, you got to beat the best. So.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's curious, that's what Stubley said about picking Brian Fred, because he picked really early and he picked Brian Fred, and it kind of surprised some people. And he's like, "Look, I'm not going to shy." he said, I'm not going to shy away from competition. I've got to beat them eventually to win it. So why not just start there and get it done? And
Well,
that's also, that's just an attitude of respect there.
yeah.
Seriously, like not shying away from anybody. Let's do it.
Yeah, and not only that, he also said if he's going to lose, he wants to lose to the nicest guy in Star Wars. I will say everybody was a little surprised Paul Myers didn't pick B-Fred, just because there's a little bit of backstory there. Paul Myers actually got a hold of me. He was like, well, I want to come into Holotheatre and explain everything. And I'm just like, well, we can have you on soon. So everybody be looking forward to that. That's going to be an exciting one.
So is this the year of Greg Shaw now? Like, you've top 2 Texas Mini Worlds. You have a chance to do some damage in OCS. You're going to do well at Worlds. And
you don't get a year named after you for top 2ing. So I don't know. We'll see. Sure, he's out.
Well,
you make enough top 2s, you tend to, if the guy beating you every time isn't the same person.
True. Right now it's so Hayes has still won 2 majors. This is essentially the 3rd major of the year. So if Greg wins it, okay, good. And then you know what, Greg, you're playing better than anybody, like as anybody else I can think of right now, with the exception of maybe MHT. So I think I like your chances. I'm not going to discredit that, especially in the OCS. If you can get past Baroni and Desai, and then possibly Bastion because he's also on your bracket. You know what?
Yeah,
it's the year of Greg.
It should be pretty easy, right?
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. That's a tough path if that's what it ends up being. I don't know. The whole top 16 is stacked, so nobody will have an easy. Whoever wins that event will have earned it. But I don't know. I'm gonna have to take that one at a time.
To be honest, like that's what we were saying about mini worlds and some of the pods. Like, there's no easy games really anymore. Like, you end up having to play. Like, everybody's raised their game because of GIMP. So,
for sure,
there's
the meta shifts quickly. People can get up to speed so much more. So much more rapidly than ever before. And the players at the bottom, like there's not weak players anymore. Everybody has a good idea of what they're doing. Right. It's gone are the days of, like beating down a lone TIE fighter on the back of a draw their fire beat down for 40. And, when you're game in 5 minutes, that really doesn't happen too much anymore. Whereas a local tournament 10 years ago, you could pick up a couple wins like that. No, the bottom, the floor of the level of play has definitely elevated a lot with GIMP.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how are you feeling? So what kind of preparation are you going to do for the OCS? Are you going to like hunker down with your team, or because what it sounds like to me, the meta's not going to change that much, if anything, before there.
Well, they said
what's going to happen is Yoshi is going to give me a rundown of every deck that MHT has ever played, if it's been documented anywhere. Then Drew and Charlie will attack it from 2 different angles, and they'll start just throwing a bunch of deck lists out there. And then Kessling will offer to play a bunch of games with me. Bill will chime in with some feedback on his random card choices, and probably like 1 out of 5 will be something that sticks. And eventually we'll get to something that I'm happy with. That's pretty much the routine.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sounds pretty good.
We'll talk it out. We'll talk through a bunch of different options. We've had a lot of collaboration just getting through the playoffs of TMW, right? You saw when we picked out some deck choices and specific card choices for CRG when he was going into his match play, and that was things that we collaborated on as a team. Came to the conclusion that that was the best deck and the best build of that deck for him to play going into his match against David Woods. So, we'll collaborate and we'll come up with decks that we think are good and strategies that we think are good, and we'll play test it.
So, okay.
I'll be that.
You might be able to answer this because Bill hasn't yet. How did you guys prepare for me? Just out of curiosity.
We talked about it. We talked about it. We had you pegged on a couple of different decks. I was wrong. I thought for sure you were going to play CCT. I think we talked about this after, right?
I think so.
I thought for sure you would play CCT. We talked about your deck choices, stuff that you were likely to play, and we talked about how that worked, how that played into or against Bill's comfort and play style with certain decks, and we came up with what we thought were the best options for him.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that's his respectful answer, Dan.
It is, and I'm glad.
What they really did was
glad that
you were not overlooked.
I will say I'm glad that Greg
overlooked.
went with the respectful answer and not the truth.
Yeah, the truth is they went out drinking and laughed and focused on Charlotte and everybody else's matchup.
That's fair.
No, we took it very seriously. That was an honest answer.
I know.
Who wants to be the guy that lost a match to Dan Tartaglione?
Brian Fred.
Well, he didn't lose a match. He lost a game. He didn't lose a match.
When was that?
He lost a game.
He lost a game in Texas Mini Worlds to him in pod play. No, he was meaning like a match, like the full both games. Like, you don't want to do that.
That's
like,
fair.
You can look at a game and be like, all right, I just got out luck a little bit there, or bad luck, or bad hand, bad draws, whatever.
That's
fair. You lose a match.
I did commentary on. You guys played both games, right? So I think I did commentary on both games, and there were things that as commentators we identify that we may have done a little bit differently, but there weren't any like huge mistakes that you played. You played well. I mean, you obviously played well to get out of the pod, and then you had a good match with Bill. We weren't overlooking you.
Yeah, he played No Idea. I stuck with TTO, figuring he wasn't going to play the relatively unprotected, and I want to say it was CRG, or maybe it was Drew who told him to play it. And that completely derailed me.
Bill says he wants to go on record that they all of them wanted him to cut that card, and he did.
That's nonsense.
Okay. That's what he says. He wants to be on record saying everybody on that team wanted to cut that card, but he made the call.
You know what? I could not have lost to a better person / player. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, you could have. You could have lost the guy on camera.
But you didn't play.
What? No, him. I'm not me. I'm not a better person than Greg Shaw. Greg Shaw's the best.
True.
I'm definitely not a better player than Greg Shaw.
True.
Like, I mean, I said this. I'm pretty sure I said this during our Texas Mini Worlds run-up, but I think Greg Shaw is probably the best player not to win Worlds. And that
I don't know about that.
And that's saying something.
You know what he has? I mean, Greg has what? You've had two runner-ups.
Yeah, right? To German players.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was Chu and
Angelo and
and Angelo in 2002 and Chu in 2003.
03. Yeah.
Okay.
He had back-to-back world finalist runs.
Yeah, there's that's just saying right there.
And this was 18, 19 years ago. So I mean,
yeah.
You've been at the top of the game for a very long time. Like,
no, it's been all downhill since then.
You know what? I'm still going to go on record and say the game that you played against Joe Olsen to win the Continentals last year was the best game of Star Wars I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I watched him pull the stuff up at Nats and Pitt one year. Yeah. Like, you may not always win the events, but you're always right there as a person of, hey, look, you better watch out. Like, you can't take you for granted. Like, you can't be like, it's Greg Shaw.
Sometimes, yes.
No, like, this isn't Texas Mini Worlds where we don't have beer being served to you at these events anymore. Like, this isn't Texas Mini Worlds at the bar.
You know what? I want to have an event where they serve beer to us during the event. I want to go to Worlds for that.
The Fox and Hound setup that we had at those Texas events was the best setup I've had for a Star Wars tournament. Like, I don't know, there's something just so fun about hanging out in that bar for the entire day, for the entire weekend, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we had a bar.
Football would be on.
Yeah, well, they had like 6 TVs for us. They had usually like 1 or 2 waitresses waiting on us to get us food and drinks. we had enough tables to where you could order food, have it sitting next to you, you'd eat while playing the game. They brought us alcohol. I think honestly the best part was we all stayed at the same house, so we were up until like 4 a.m. playing games anyway. It was just a different experience. Even like going into day 2, everybody that made day 2, it felt like was up having fun at these events instead of play testing.
It would be like everybody who made day 2 was just at a sleepover together at Mike Richards' house, and so you got to. It's like, I don't know, whoever was able to get more than 3 hours of sleep was in the best shape for day 2.
So I'm gonna go on record. When I do move back east, and it's gonna be next year at some point, hopefully, I'm anticipating buying my own place. When we have an event in Pittsburgh, and I'll probably run it or get one of the Crowley brothers to run it because they don't do anything.
Wait.
I will be the Mike Richards of Pittsburgh. I'll open my house up to all Star Wars players again.
I would like to point out Caruli had me run Pittsburgh Nets. So
that's why I said they don't do anything.
Yeah, no, he outsources it to me. That's how Matt Caruli handles it. So, I mean, it's like we also had like the entire upper half of the bar to ourselves. Like it wasn't like in the same bar with everybody else. They were all downstairs. We had upstairs. It was kind of quieter and we were secluded. And I mean, it was so insanely fun just to be able to go there, get food and drinks. Like having the hotel conference rooms is nice, but man, having food literally delivered while you could eat and just sitting there drinking all day and not having to worry about it, it's hard to
being in a bar without hotel bar prices is one big part of the appeal to that venue.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've got enough about reminiscing. So we'll skip into we'll go into our swing and a miss. It's a hit segment of the show. I got a few of them tonight. So here we actually have them. I'll actually be showing them here in a second. So that one. There we go.
All right. So we'll just start with this one. That wasn't an official swing and a miss one because Dan wanted to be polite. But you will win Texas Mini Worlds without Baroni giving it to you this year.
I'll say that's a what's that one? It's a hit.
It's a hit.
The one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a hit.
I had to we go back. Like
I thought you were gonna follow up.
No, I mean I kind of can't. Like that was the year that Baroni beat the crap out of me in the top 4, and I really wanted to beat him so I could play you, but like it was fun. Like I would have liked to watch that game though.
If you're, Baroni is a loyal and good ally to have, and obviously the guys on KTOD have known that for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have an opportunity to establish a friendship with Baroni, he's good to you.
Yeah, so
leave it at that.
I mean, he I know to add to it, he signed up strictly because I was running the event and he wanted to help support me running this event. Him and Justin are both really loyal friends to me, and they Baroni literally doesn't care about a lot of things like that. He wants to come and have fun, and he wants to see his friends have fun, and he wants to just hang out and play games. So
both those guys, both Justin and Baroni, are ridiculously good people and
ridiculously good at the game. All right, so now we'll get to the actual swing and the miss questions.
Yes,
that was my unofficial one because Dan didn't want to ruffle feathers, but I was like, man, Dan, Shaw, this is what Shaw and I do. I've known Shaw for a very long time.
You know what? I don't have this personal relationship with Shaw because while everybody was at Mike Richards' house having a ball, I was stuck in Hawaii.
I mean, you can't really say anything. That's not a complaint. I would have rather been at Hawaii than Mike Richards' house. Have you been to Mike Richards' house?
Yeah, when you don't get the full context. But you don't give the full context of why you're in Hawaii.
Yeah.
A statement loses some of its punch, I think.
Oh,
I was in Hawaii working 12-hour shifts as a weather forecaster.
Okay.
I mean,
Still,
in a
I don't know.
windowless. Okay, I worked as a weather forecaster
Houston,
in a windowless
Hawaii?
room. Yeah,
Yeah.
Hold on. Mike
When I
Richards'
was
house,
off-
Hawaii.
but when
Like,
I was off, I was golfing every weekend.
yeah, see? And it's not like you're a weatherman in Texas where
Yeah, sounds tough.
you're wrong all the time. So,
Well, I was forecasting for Japan, so there's a difference.
Oh.
But on to our first question for Swing and a Miss.
Okay.
With
1A.
so with the OCS being in the current meta, most of the players know the current meta decks and everything. So there's really no clear-cut favorite to win. And as always, we like to start with our guest.
Wait, so what's the actual question there?
So the question is, there's no clear-cut favorite right now because the current meta has been it's the way it is for so long.
I don't know though. Like how do you pick against Bastion as a clear-cut favorite? Right? I think there are obviously a lot of strong players in the that make up the entire field, but for the last 2-3 years, Bastion has just been on another level, and he's shown that he's not infallible. But if I'm picking one person, and I'm giving Bastion the best odds to win the entire event.
So
Are we talking about players or decks?
players.
Okay.
But so the way I'm looking at it is the game has adjusted to, as you said it, there's no, the ceiling or the floor has risen. Bastion also is on a side of the bracket where he has to go through potentially yourself, Tom. He starts off with Justin Branch. So right there, he's facing down somebody who isn't a slouch, essentially.
Well, there is no slouch.
Huh?
There is no slouch. We had that discussion. Like,
touche. But no, he's on the same bracket side with Justin Desai, Steve Baroni, Greg Shaw, Tom Damon, and I forget the other one. Sorry.
Justin Branch.
Well, no. Yeah, that's Bastion's first round, but I'm saying there's there's two more
And then
players.
I see.
Yeah, his second round is the winner of Adam Fletcher and Brad Kipple.
Yeah, and Adam and Brad. I mean, Brad just came off of a top 8 from this event.
Yeah, he lost to Kessling.
Yeah, and
he had a good run in OCS
Yeah.
and qualified for it. So
yeah, and none of these players are bad. So what I'm saying is, and like I said, we just saw Bastion not win his pod. CRG did that, and then he lost MHT in the first round. So I'm not saying Bastion is a bad player. I'm saying that players have advanced to the point where, one, the meta right now is so well known, you're really not going to surprise anybody with a certain deck. And two, the play level at this point has gotten so high that there's not it's anybody's game at this point.
yeah, it depends on if they get the new set out released in any of this too. Because that could change things. People may want to hold things back for Worlds as well. OCS doesn't carry the same weight as like a Worlds champion does.
True.
Although I don't know how much this one's going to carry to some people at this rate, but it's still Worlds to me. So like I still value it highly. But there's no slouches. I know you said Bastion just lost to MHT, but that's not anything to be hanging your head about. I mean, MHT is a great player who has proved it time and time again. Honestly, like the way Shaw's been playing lately, I would put him up there. Justin and Baroni, I always look at. I don't know how much time Baroni's going to have.
That's the
but Justin and Shaw and Bastion are probably if you had me put my money, I'd put it on one of those three and just let the chips fall where they may. I think one of those three will probably end up winning it, to be honest.
Okay, so on to question 2. So if there is a meta shift, the players with a larger team base to go back on are going to be more successful.
Am I up first again?
Yep.
Always you first.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier today. I think, as long as the larger teams are staying involved and excited about what's coming through, then I would say that they probably have the advantage there because it's the same thing. You can brainstorm so many different iterations of decks. You could play test so many different iterations of decks. You just have more heads and hands at the ready, and you could come to probably a better solution to the meta faster than anybody else.
Robbie?
Yes and no. Like, I mean, I agree with Shaw, but KTOD is still a team, and I would never bet against Baroni and Desai from figuring things out either.
True.
And if we get the private team league thing set up, I know Chu will be back in a heartbeat, and I'm not betting against those three ever at an event. I mean, Shaw knows. Like, they can figure out more in just theory crafting than most teams can do and just actual play testing.
True.
And I think it really depends on the team. Like, I think Shaw's team found something that works well for them, and it's proven to work well for them. They've all put up really good results this year because of this team. And KTOD has put up really good results over the last 20 years with their team and their concept and how they do things. I think it's about finding a group of guys that works really well together and, can achieve good results by doing that more than how many people or who's on it kind of thing.
Okay, and that does make sense. That was going to be my next point. There are players who don't necessarily have a team who just perform well. And look like Connor Britton. He's not really...
Well, he's on a team now.
He's on a team?
Yeah, it was him and I think like Jared and a couple others, like Adam Trunzo, I think, was on there.
Well, but look at him before he came onto a team.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, he just started on GIMP and then he exploded at Indoor and, people are talking about him now. Yeah.
So, I mean, technically I'm not on a team. And
it makes it a lot easier to play test games against people and get meaningful results and learn how to play things. So I definitely think you can come out of nowhere if you put the time and practice in. And
now, I will say this. If anybody is looking for a new teammate, let me know. I'm just currently, Pittsburgh is pretty much dead. So
that's a shame.
Yep. Same. Yeah.
I mean, it's still got the...
Reed kind of dropped out, but that's another story.
Well, I mean, I know Reed isn't a big fan of online play, so it makes sense in a year where there is no live play that, if you don't like where it shifts to, you're not going to play as much.
True. But, yeah, I mean, you said it. It just depends on the individual. It also depends on how the teams or the people mesh. So, but, okay. So, on to question number 3. So, we're going to go back to new allies because you know what? We can't stop talking about you guys. New allies will continue to dominate the SWCCG world and will have at least 2 players make the OCS top 4.
2 in the OCS top 4.
2 in the OCS top 4.
So that will have to be me from
your side,
my half of the bracket, and then either B-Fred or Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that. Not a problem.
Okay. I like that. Not a problem. Not like, yes, I think we can do that. No, not a problem.
Yeah. Put the challenge in front of us, and we'll figure out a way to do it.
Okay, I like that.
I mean, that may have just lit a fire under B-Fred to pull it off, too.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know what? It's not getting a fire under him. You got to get him, 1, away from selling cards. And 2, you got to get him more engrossed onto the current meta. Because until we get set 13, I think Brian Fred is just lost.
We have to focus on getting him to sell the right cards.
Yeah.
If he sells all of his copies of Field Promotion and Palace Raider, then we'll be able to get him on the right track to success.
You know what?
I'm a detriment to Brian Fred because I keep telling him to play Raiders.
I'll On a side note, Brian Fred literally is messaging me during this show. He's like, "Hey, what Japanese cards do you need? I need to make money." Yeah. But
I mean, I'll let you go next on it. Yeah, I was gonna say you take a swing at it.
I think they can. I think you guys can. Greg, you have obviously the hardest route. Like,
yeah, it's a little tricky.
So, but
I don't know. Maybe business will be booming at the restaurant, and Steve will have to, step away, and then I don't know, something happens with Justin and Tom, and I don't know. Maybe no. I think yeah, it's not going to be an easy path to get there, but whatever, we'll do it.
Yeah, and I will say, between Drew and B. Fred, I like Drew's chances more than B. Fred's. I think you guys are going to get one. I'm not going to say who. I'm just going to say you.
So you think one out of the three of us?
One out of the three of you.
That's.
It sounds like you're picking Drew, and I don't begrudge you that choice. I think Drew has done a lot behind the scenes for New Allies, and it hasn't shown up in his results at a big event just yet.
True. And
I feel like that's coming.
Yeah. And not only that, as Bill has pointed out in the chat, there was a point where Drew had nothing to do, and he wasn't allowed outside of China, so he just messed with Star Wars cards all day. So,
yeah. And I mean, it's really hard getting on the internet to get out from China. I mean, no, it actually is. They have restrictions on what you can do. You have to VPN your way out to get around. So, I'm gonna go ahead and just say this is probably gonna be a miss. Like I don't. You're asking for a lot to get through 4 rounds or 3 rounds against the world's top players. Like, anything could happen. I mean, we watched, MHT pull off a great run of picking the right deck, and then he ran into Kessling doing the same thing against him, and Kessling almost pulled that out because he won by 30 with the right deck call. I mean, anything like that can happen, and I mean, Shaw did that against Joe in their matchup. I mean, he won by 16, I think, game 1 roughly, and then you drew up to like 20 something cards and were like, I'm going to find what I need and I'm going to play this game entirely differently because I know I have a 16-point lead against you right now. And that makes a huge difference. So anything can happen in match play. You're putting to get through 3 rounds against the world's best players and survive to be the last 2. I would take the field on that.
That's why I said top 4, not the finalists.
Oh, top 4?
Yeah.
I thought it was the finals. No. I'm still taking the field.
Wow. So wait. How many? So I've said 1. Greg has said 3. How many you said?
No, I didn't
he said they could do it, so I would assume he said 2.
Yeah, can we?
So 2.
But I have to look at the paths again. Can we even do that? No, because
yeah, you can do it.
Drew and B. Fred both win, then they're playing each other, so we can't.
Oh yeah, you can't get 3.
We can't actually.
But you can get 2.
Okay, so Greg has said 2. How many are you saying, Robbie?
I'll say 1, knowing that if Drew and B. Fred both win, they're guaranteed one of them in the top 4. So,
oh yeah.
Because they would go to the top 8 against each other, so that guarantees at least 1.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I don't know.
And then Shaw just has to derail the KTOD to get there for 2. 1.5. Because I'm not going to bet against Shaw doing that, but yeah, that's a tough road for anybody.
All right.
Yeah.
I need the little extra motivation. Thanks, Rob.
You know what? I'll put some more motivation. Greg, if you beat Justin and Steve, I'll buy you a drink at the next live event.
I mean, all right, Shaw. Like, I've already given you guys team mugs, team titles. Although Taco Bell could lose that if the Patriots win the division again. But
what?
What? He's not allowed to bet that.
He took me up on that bet. If the Patriots win the division, Chris Kelly and I get our team titles back.
Please.
What are we getting out of this?
I forgot what I said. I said something.
You know what?
All right, I need
While
the
Robbie's
details
doing what
on
he's
that.
doing,
Whenever you can send
uh,
them over.
while Robbie's going off on this, let's go into question number 4. Okay, so for our last question, so the NPC, the online NPC that we did earlier this year, has paved a way for future. It's the future of Star Wars CCG online, and it was a success.
Uh, I say it's a hit, but comes with some caveats, right? That was the first big event that we really tried to put together, so I think there were a lot of things that we learned from it. So
Yeah.
could it have been improved upon? Yes, but that's part of the process of uh, make mistakes, you learn, you get better. So I think it was awesome that it came together and gave us something to do in place of actually having the NPC. But certainly we need to use it to figure out which things we need to do better. And I think there's also not necessarily interest in everything being a match play format, right? So
True.
it's good that we were able to test that out, but I think doing alternate formats like what Robbie put together for TMW pod play, that stuff is going to be critical to us getting regular online big events moving forward as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's a hit in that it was successful in getting our foot in the door, and we just got to make sure that we improve upon it.
All right, so before we continue, you're getting deck boxes if you win. You get upgraded from the shot glasses to deck boxes. That's what you guys get if the Patriots lose the division.
Okay.
What kind of
it's
deck
custom
boxes?
made?
All the way.
What kind of
custom
deck
made?
boxes?
Custom made team champion deck boxes.
Oh, I want to see these.
Yeah. Like I don't think I'll have to make them because I think the Patriots are going to win. But
please,
we'll see.
Patriots will not win. Patriots are 1-1. The Bills are 2-0.
They played the Jets and Dolphins.
Yeah, and have you seen how good Josh Allen has been?
Yeah, against air.
Nah.
He played against air. Anyways,
year.
I mean, for your sake, I hope so.
You know what? I shouldn't talk much. My fantasy team in the Star Wars CCG league is 0-2.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about them as much.
Yeah. So you were saying, Robbie?
So I think what I wanted to achieve this year with Texas Mini Worlds was a giant success. The two main goals I had for Texas Mini Worlds was, can we do this online in a different way than what we did for the NPC? And are players going to enjoy playing online in that way? Because before this, there was a lot of discussion about, well, if we can't do Worlds in person, then why don't we just cancel it? Online isn't the same. It's not as fun, things like that. And I wanted to see what would happen. And I think, from those two goals as a standpoint, I think Texas Mini Worlds was a tremendous success. I mean, everybody who participated had fun. We've had so many games being streamed. We've had so many people, watching from around the world, having fun, watching games and commenting and things like that. And it showed that people are interested in playing even online, and it allowed us to test a couple of different formats and rules and stuff to pull that out. Like Shaw said, could it be better? Sure, everything could be better. I mean, you're never going to get it perfect right off the bat, but you got to start somewhere and you got to try. And if you don't try, then you're always going to fail. You just should, stay home at that point.
So I think the biggest success was that it showed that GIMP is essentially a really good system. We have the capability to hold larger events over the span of a weekend, and that right there is probably the biggest success that I've seen. So you're going to always have the issues of internet capability. So when you have an online event like this, you're reliant on everybody having power, everybody having internet, as we learned from the streamers.
Streamer, I had power and internet.
Yeah. Well, so you're going to have issues like that. So it's not going to be as Greg has said, it's not going to be perfect. So we got to work around that and figure out ways to look at every contingency.
Right.
So I think that, and I think Texas has shown us that we have to look at that. So
right. Well, and it also helped us figure out GIMP can have issues with at times, and we still have some development to get through to really clean it out. But we wouldn't even be where we are without Texas Mini Worlds running, and we wouldn't know. Jeremy probably wouldn't have put in a fix. We would have gotten to Worlds, and we would have all been lagging trying to pull it off, and it would have been miserable. Yeah. So we've learned some things to try to make Worlds better. We learned that, hey, look, you also need more than 2 people volunteering to stay up the whole 48 hours and run the event.
Yeah.
Or at least we learned a lot.
Or at least, the PC needs to send those 2 people like a case of Red Bull each.
Yeah. I mean, I was on G Fuel that weekend. I drank probably 4 a day. So
I was on Red Bull, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean,
I think I agree with pretty much everything Robbie said. And I'll just add that I think it's important that we keep pushing things, right? Keep trying new formats, pushing the extent of, how many games we can have going at the same time, or, how many games can everybody comfortably play in a weekend? Because stuff like that is fun, right? I think everybody who signed up, like you said, Robbie, everybody who signed up for Texas Mini Worlds enjoyed playing, had a fun time. And I think the more that we test things and find out what we're capable of, what works, what doesn't work, the more consistent we'll be in putting on events that people can enjoy.
Exactly.
And so I think it's important that we keep these things going and just keep trying new things and testing the limits of what we're able to do with GIMP.
Right. And I think the other thing it also helped show was, like one of the things we showcased was each person picking 2 decks per side, which was something we've never done at an event before. And
that was an awesome wrinkle. Yeah.
And I think it added a lot. I think pod play kind of messed it up a little bit more than like a Swiss play would have done, like where you have a greater amount of people, so you can't just tech for those 8 people in those decks. But it allowed you to kind of switch things up, switch gears depending on where you were.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize is that idea didn't even come from me. It came from somebody posting on the forums, and it was something that was posted as an idea for NPC, and I took it and ran with it for this. It helped showcase a little bit of it's not just me or Shaw or Gogolin or Taco Bill, the guys that put up the events that are coming with all the ideas. We listen to everybody that's out there, and we take their ideas and we try to run with it and test them out and see what happens. We have actual data to back up some of these results now, and that matters.
Yeah.
So
and that's the first thing. I was like, this year has actually kind of, in a weird way, kind of been good for the game.
Yeah.
Like there's more people on GIMP. We have more data. The game is progressing in a way that we can see maybe a couple of years down the line how we want to run things. So,
I mean, we, Echo Base Trooper's been putting together the OCS stats for, the last, almost the entire year, I think. And, he's done that manually without having GIMP do it. And that's pulled in tremendous amount of data to help D&D design cards or tweak cards to make them, to change up things a little bit. That probably wouldn't have happened if COVID didn't happen. He may not have taken the time to do that, or he may not have had the time. He may have been in an office and couldn't focus on doing it. There's this year, while it sucks that we lost all our in-person events, I think has showcased so many different levels of our community that makes it unique and makes it great. I know other games are trying to do essentially what we do on every dead game that happens. Like the Star Wars Destiny is trying to come up with their own committee. Star Trek has theirs. I know Raw Deal had one. Lord of the Rings has one. And I don't think any of those games are anywhere near as successful as what we are. And, it's a whole community effort on our part to achieve that. And I think Texas Mini Worlds and this year in general has shown how strong of a community we really have to achieve it.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Well, now that we're all mushy and happy and everything, I think we need to go into our deck challenge. So, unfortunately, last week, Robbie and Jerry completely forgot about it.
I blame Jerry.
I
blame
blame
Jerry.
Jerry too.
He's the veteran of this entire show. I've only done a couple of these, so
You also
I don't.
started the show.
Yeah, we didn't have a deck building challenge. I just would
Yeah,
like
you
to
guys
say.
didn't have a lot back then.
No. Hey,
So-
we had to come up with a stream setup.
Touche. So, don't have a winner from the last one, unfortunately. This one is actually from Robbie. So, Robbie, I'm going to post what it is on the. I'll post the list, and then you can explain it.
So this is actually from 2001, Freedom Gone. We're taking another deck building challenge. You are allowed to change 5 cards. We're doing the Scott Lingerol RST Boom Race Challenge again, but we're going to pick a different deck from the same year, same top 8. This was
Acer belonged to Europe.
Yes.
Yes.
This is the Dark Side deck that won Worlds because Bastion and Martin were both playing it in the top 2. We are going to allow you to swap out the starting effect for the new one for free and add all the defensive shields for free.
Mm-hmm.
But you're allowed to swap 5 cards out, just like the RST Boom Race.
Just 5.
And just 5. You can even, if you wanted to, this is something that we had talked about when I brought this up. If you wanted to bring in Imperial Entanglements as an objective, yeah, you could swap in the objective. But you got to swap in the Devastator too, and that adds 2 cards. So you only get to swap 5 cards, but you'll take this list. It's I'll post it. We'll post it on the forums and the deck building challenge, so you'll have access to it. But your goal is to take this into I guess we don't have the OCS anymore, so a league play and try to win a game with it. First person who wins a game doing it gets a prize.
Yeah, as long as
my money is on my teammate Vikram. I think he's all over this.
My money, if he actually chooses to do it, because he's won so many other deck building challenges, bless you, would be one of the co-creators of the deck in Bastion. But he may be taking a break from deck building challenges to let other people win, since this one is literally right up his alley.
Oh, I will say everyone is open to this one. There is no limitation. So if Bastion, if you are watching and you want to enter, go ahead and enter. We'll make sure. I am working on some newer prizes, so
you won't get the same one times 5.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Everybody wants a Holotheatre with Jerry on it.
Right. But, yeah, I mean, I really like the Boom Race one that you guys came up with Scott. I really liked his Boom Race deck. I mean, when I first got back into the game was just early 2002. And so I was reading, like, the last major event was Freedom Con of 01 that was out there. And so that's how I got into the game again, was learning the decks from that meta and trying to learn from those and play. And so Scott's Boom Race deck was always a favorite of mine, and this one was too.
So
mainly because you didn't.
Is that why you're stuck on Senate?
What?
Because you're so far back in the past.
Well, first of all, this deck was one of the decks I really wanted to play at the beginning, because at the time I saw a bunch of people just starting objectives, and I didn't see anybody not start an objective, and I thought that was really cool and unique to this deck. Didn't realize that Throne Room was a thing, because I don't think that top 8 played Throne Room that year at all. I don't think there was a single Throne Room deck in the top 8. But I thought it was unique in that way. But when I actually started buying cards and getting really into it and making my own decisions, it always seemed fun to play political games in Star Wars. So that's why I like Senate. I also managed to get 3 Coruscant boxes for $40 a piece that I wish I hadn't opened. Wow. But at the time, you didn't know that. I mean, that's why I had
higher on those right now.
Yeah, almost. That's why I had so many like AI queens and stuff and AI Palpatines. It's because I opened them all in those boxes. But yeah, that's what I like saying. But yeah, like that's why I wanted to choose that deck. I also thought with Greg Shaw being somebody old school like me, he would get a kick out of seeing that deck come back and see some play.
That's fair.
I mean, it was a really good design deck. It beat Watch Your Step in the meta, which is you think it's kind of weird that it beats Watch Your Step when your starting location gets replaced by theirs.
Yeah.
But it still did, and it was run by.
At the time, wasn't the rule that you could change? I don't think you were locked into your starting location. I think this may have been one of the events that spurred the rule change. I think if you
Well, I know Bastion said in his tournament report against somebody playing Watch Your Step, this is the game he gets no location. No starting location.
I thought for some reason if you knew 100% that they were on Watch Your Step, you would just start the bridge or something.
Maybe you could switch.
Wrong.
Maybe that was it. Maybe you could switch if you knew, but maybe he didn't know what his opponent was on.
That could be.
And he was just starting his normal starting location of Tatooine and got replaced. Because I know it was in Swiss that it happened, and it was early on. And I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how much scouting really played into it in the early days, because you were forced to leave the play area. You didn't have as many teams walking around and gathering information. I know by the top 8 they knew what everybody was playing, but I don't know if they knew at Swiss. So
yeah, early on in Swiss would be a scenario where you can't take that risk.
Right. So yeah, he. I mean, I know they still won even though they did that. But of course it's also Bastion who's right there with you as the GOAT. So can't really can't really use that as the best example. But yeah, I mean, I thought it would be a lot of fun to see this kind of deck, and there's a lot of different ways you could take it too. Like I said, you could switch it to entanglements and kind of use that because it's got the ATSDs already going. You could leave it as is and make some other changes to update some virtual cards because it doesn't have indoor shield. It doesn't have, a lot of those key effects that we now take for granted that didn't exist back then. So I thought there's a lot of different ways people could take it. I was curious to see which way they would go.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, yeah, I'm excited.
So, moving on, Greg has given us his card of the week. So, Greg, your card of the week was what? Surprise Assault.
Yeah. I thought it was funny. In my second game against Joe, he didn't get to see it, but I did have a Surprise Assault in my light side deck. And obviously in the first game, everybody saw it eventually, but on the first verify that Joe gave me, I saw a Surprise Assault in his deck. So I was kind of chuckling to myself that we both thought that it was a relevant card in this meta to add to our decks for the match. It just seems like a pretty powerful card right now with the way ISB and Court and CCT like to doom stack their site. You got a bunch of dudes there. I mean, the troopers, when you don't have Trooper Assault active, the troopers have very modest power totals.
Yeah.
So if you can stack a couple Destinies and you get off a Surprise Assault against somebody who's not holding Cold Feet in their hand, the damage can be pretty big, even if Decree's on table. You're drawing a lot of if you're drawing a lot of 5s and there's a lot of power 2 characters on the table, or at that site, then it's going to add up.
Yeah.
It's just a fun card. Yeah. Just a fun card. I thought it was funny that Joe and I both went to it in our match.
Yeah, and I like it how people are reverting back to these old cards that don't see a lot of play to beat the better deck. And while I do like the fact that we can errata cards and everything, I would rather see stuff like this, the creativity that players are doing to get around the top decks. Now, I mean, I'm not against erratas, but...
Well, you use errata as the last resort where the creativity of players isn't getting around the cards like you want them to. Like in Magic, where Oko was running wild everywhere. Everybody knows Oko was running wild. Yeah, there were some creative ways to get around it, but that card was still dumb.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, you kind of go either way, but this card, like, I know Shaw's been playing, like I said, forever, so we see this card kind of cycle in and out over the years, and it's always fun to, like, see people when they get Surprised Assault or Lost in the Wilderness or, some of those other random one-ofs like Weapon Lev. I mean, some of these have shields, but people still get caught with their pants down against it, and you're just like, oh, I pretty much just lost the game because my opponent one-upped me on this cool little trick that I didn't see coming. So, no, I think it's really cool. It's definitely a fun card. It can do some damage. It can also damage you if you're not careful.
Yeah. Okay, so for our last segment of tonight, we're gonna do. We're gonna go back into the. We're not gonna stick with the spelling challenge. We're gonna go continue with the lore challenge. So, Greg, do you currently have Twitch open?
Yeah, sorry. I was just helping somebody out with a link
Yeah,
to
I
GEMP.
saw that. Thank you, by the way.
The tall guyness. Make sure you check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let me close that. Okay. I'm out.
Okay. Okay. So for those who do know, what we're going to do is I'm going to show a card on the screen. I'm going to give Greg what type of card it is and what side it is, and then I'm going to read the lore. And Greg is going to have a guess, maybe two, on what the card is. If he is successful, well, he gets a prize. If not, he gets to spend more time with Robbie.
Oh, it's win-win.
Yeah, I win.
Okay, so your card is a Dark Side Imperial. I'll actually give you the Imperial, so it's not like a alien or something. I'll give you that much.
Still like 100 characters.
So the lore is Piet's nephew. Once granted audience with Emperor on fast track to promotion. Absolutely fearless spy. You know what?
Okay.
Robbie,
Spy narrows it down.
Yeah, spy does narrow it down. Robbie, should we give him the set
No.
when we do this? No? Okay.
No, because I mean, this is a card you might see play within certain decks.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, this one's a good one. This wasn't like last week's.
I'm sure this card literally ended up from Drew posted in their Slack channel. I would
at least
100% not be surprised to see that.
You know what?
Happen.
If Drew is watching and you don't get it, it's gonna be embarrassing.
Drew's not watching. It's like 3 a.m. in China. He'll watch later.
Okay.
No, I think I already know the set. I just don't.
Do you want me to read again?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with it. I think it's from Death Star 2, and I think it's Captain Sarkley.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told you this ended up in their chat. You didn't need to give them anything. You probably didn't need to give them Imperial, to be honest. Like
I should have just said character.
If you left off spy, I don't think I would have gotten there, but the fact that he was a spy, I don't know, Captain Sarkley always stands out.
That's fair.
Which is not good for a spy.
No.
No, he's not a very good card, but
you know what? Yeah.
I'm not. I wouldn't be. I was gonna say there might be some moments where he could see it, so I wouldn't be surprised if Drew was like, "Hey, what about this against this deck?" And Greg Shaw goes, "What the hell is this card? I gotta go look this card up."
I could tell you who would propose that card on our team, and it wouldn't be Drew for that particular card.
Mike Kessling?
It would be Charlie. Carl and Son himself.
I'm actually surprised Charlie would know about that. Actually, I'm not. Minnesota guys dig pretty deep on their cards.
True.
Yeah, it fits into their pre-New Allies play style, and it's a card that's in their rotation.
I mean, I can see it. While he controls an opponent's non-battleground location, opponent generates no force here. That's pretty good. Yeah. But you have to control it.
Right.
And Rob's choke, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Sarkley in your opening hand. Slap him down to a Twix.
Yeah.
Or you just slap them down to the docking bay and they generate no force at Luke's site plus no force at his site turn 1.
Okay, now you're actually talking
about. If you're going against like they're as good in him, like that would be fantastic. Like they would activate nothing. Yeah.
Just enough to slide over.
Well, no, it has to be a non-battleground.
So non-battleground. Yeah. Never mind. Because they still don't activate. All you have to do is drop an Imperial. They don't activate where Luke is anyway. Yeah. But I have no idea.
But you're not there yet, Rob.
All right, so what do I win? What's my prize, Dan?
So you're going to get a choice. Do you want a foil Holotheatre with Jerry, or do you want a newer prize?
Oh, I want the foil Holotheatre.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say he wants the
Send me
Holotheater.
over your address and I'll get it out to you.
You got it.
Okay, everybody. So that was the last thing we got for tonight. Again, I want to thank Robbie for being my co-host. I want to thank Greg for coming on. We finally got you on. I've been like pestering you for like the last 3 or 4 weeks to come on, and we finally got you on. So
Yeah, it worked out. I'm happy. Thanks for the invite. Yeah, sometimes the dreams really do come true.
Did you get to sit here and talk to Robbie for an hour?
I haven't actually talked to Sean. I don't know how long.
Yeah.
Like, this has been great. It's been great catching up a little bit and being able to make sure my buddy.
Yeah, aside from your smack that you hit me with on Slack after every round, or any one of my teammates' rounds.
I have to.
So
I mean,
so what I'm hearing.
Literally, I mean, out of Shaw, Taco Bill, Kessling, Brian, Fred. I mean, these are guys I hang out with at every event. Like,
yeah,
I would, if I was doing anything where I was playing, I would fully expect them to smack talk me back. I mean,
of course.
I'm pretty sure all 4 of them kind of signed up because I was running the event and they wanted to help support me. Like, so many people do. I know Brian, Fred, and Kessling didn't even really want to play, but did so because I was doing it. And look where Kessling ended up, top 4. I mean, with a really strong chance to make top 2, and he didn't even want to
play.
Yeah, I mean, he literally told me beforehand he didn't want to play. He's literally signing up because I was doing it and he wanted to help support what I was doing. I was like, well, great. I didn't want you to have to sign up and slog through a bunch of games if you didn't want to, but you know, now I've been messaging him after every time he won, going, see what happens when you play for me. You get rewarded. See what happens, and then this one.
Why didn't you message him this time?
I did, but I jinxed him, I guess, where I said, see what happens. You get to go to the finals, and then he lost by 31. So
31. I will say this. One of the most funs I've ever had at an event was at Endor, hanging out with everybody after the event at the restaurant, just sitting around drinking with Kessling.
Yeah, I mean, Kessling is
he's a good
fantastic.
Man. He got me onto a few different drink things. So.
Yeah, well, I don't expect Shaw or Taco Bill to, because they drink the same IPAs between the 2 of them. Right. So
I will say, drinking with Taco Bill. Like that Friday going on the beer tour was kind of fun.
Oh, like Taco Bill knows his stuff. Like, we went to, I think it was him, me, Kessling, and somebody else. We went to the liquor store for one Texas Mini Worlds. And I mean, I don't drink beer, but I learned more about beer that weekend from those 2 than I ever thought possible. I mean, I was surprised. And then that one Worlds, the Dagobah Worlds, I showed up and Shaw and Taco Bill like both buy the same fruity drinks and bring them in together, and I was just like, "What is this? Why did y'all have to buy the same one? Didn't y'all communicate this? About the same 4-pack? They come in 4-packs, not even 6-packs. There might as well be wine coolers."
Makes me sad.
I miss you guys at live events. I hope we get to do one soon.
I want to hang out. I'm just going to say this. I love the Pittsburgh guys, but I really need to hang out with other people.
Yeah, I mean, I've never hung out with anybody at these events that I ever thought was bad. Like, every group that comes is fantastic, and we all get together. We're all there to have fun and play games, drink, whatever. Like, some of them are there to play test and win more than others. I had to get on B-Fred about not hanging out with us and playing, the Mafia games that me and Greg are always playing together at these events, which are super fun.
I still need to make my Secret Hitler, but I need to fix up the Secret Palpatine edition.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah. Speaking of which, to everybody, there is a game out that's been out for 2 years now. Excuse me. It's called Among Us. It's only recently started getting popular, but it's a Mafia-like game online. And we now have in the SWCCG Discord, we now have a Among Us group, a channel, and we're all downloading the game on Steam, and we're going to set up some times, and we're just going to get on there and jam some Mafia-like game where we run around and have fun. So
I haven't
anybody,
played that game at all. I have no idea what it's like. Can
um,
you just give me like a very brief synopsis of
sure.
what a play experience is?
Yeah,
Sure. So
same.
you get up to 10 people. If you get 10 people, there's 2 imposters, is what they call them, which is your
Okay.
bad guys. I don't know where the actual break between 1 and 2 actually is. Most of the games I've been watching are around like 5 or 6, and it's just one person. You're all on a ship. Each person is giving tasks to complete that take you around the ship into different locations, and you have to complete some little mini game that, a couple minutes maybe at most. It's not very complicated or long. The goal of it is for all the people that aren't imposters to complete all their tasks, and they win. um, the imposter's goal is to obviously sabotage that. So the imposter can kill players. As soon as a body is discovered, you call up a meeting, and each person in the game that's not dead gets to they get to vote somebody off, essentially, if they want to. Um, each individual player can call a meeting at any time, whether there's a body or found or not, and you can do a vote. Um, then there's also emergencies that the imposter can create, that if everybody doesn't get them, like there's one that I know of off the top of my head that's they can sabotage the oxygen level in the ship. So if you don't run and actually fix the oxygen level, the game ends quicker. And they also have little secret vents that they can jump in and jump out of to get people. And if they can also kill multiple people in one round, it's not just one person dies, that's it, you start voting. If nobody finds that body, if it's in a secluded area that nobody runs to, they can kill more people. I mean, there's been games I've watched where somebody wiped out 3 people in one round, and it's a huge game swing at that point.
Yeah.
But it's a game of kind of, you have to act like you're doing tasks, kind of trying to stealthily fit in with everybody, make them not suspect you, and then you can kill them, and then there's deceit and all that kind of stuff in it. It's not exactly like Mafia, but it's pretty good for an online game. It's only like $5, so it's not even that expensive. You can even download it on your phone and play on there if you wanted to. So there's lots of avenues to play it, but we've got a Discord channel that we just set up today, and I suspect we'll be playing games on there.
I was gonna say, it looks
Depending on
like Greg's on there right now, looking at it.
I'm checking it out.
I can see like in your glasses.
glasses, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been watching a couple of games on it on Twitch, and it looks super fun. It looks fun even with a bunch of random strangers. It looks amazingly fun if you got 10 of us on the Discord all talking and goofing off with each other. Like, it looks insanely fun there. But yeah, I mean, it's a 2-year-old game that has just recently hit it big because people are finding it through Twitch and stuff, and it made its way. I think we were talking about it on Slack, and I had been talking about for Worlds, if depending on what the schedule is like, we do this or even some tabletop simulator board games through that, and we all jump on Discord and play through that.
That would
depending on whatever the schedule is. But Joe Olson was like, "Why wait? Why don't we just do it?" And so Keith set up a Discord channel for us, and I know Showenthal jumped on it. Yeah, Joe's good. Joe's got some good ideas every now and then. But no, Showenthal jumped on. I haven't, he doesn't always jump into things, but as soon as he saw that we were doing it, he jumped right in that channel. Jared Konsker's in there. I'm in there. Cal's in there. We haven't been able to fire a Mafia werewolf style game on the forums in a while, so we're gonna jump to this and give it a shot.
I will say, where the hell is Shmishki? Like, I love playing against Mishki and like games like that. The other problem is he has like one of the worst tells out there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the one game I played with him, I successfully predicted 3 of the 4 members of their team, and managed to. I got elected president. It was Secret Hitler, and I got elected chancellor or president or whatever it was, and I got to assassinate one player. And I just was like, well, I know Mishki's bad, so I'm just going to assassinate him. And he ended up being Hitler, and we won the game that we had no business winning. And him and Tom Kelly were just so furious about it. They're like, "How did you guess? Like that seems absurd. You didn't listen to us. You just fired the shot as soon as you could." And I was like, "I knew. Like I just trusted my gut. Like you guys had something suspicious. I didn't think you'd be Hitler doing it. He was kind of silent, so I assumed he might be Hitler, but I knew he was bad, so I took a chance, and it worked out." But yeah, so we're gonna start doing that. Hopefully, a little bit more often. Everybody should check it out.
Robbie, I just bought it, so I'm in.
I'm sure Sean will buy it here in a second anyway. Like it's $5.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out.
So I think if you jump into the Discord, the channel for it and the discussion, there's 2 channels. There's the text-based one that we're all talking in, and then there's actually a voice call one where we'll jump in and do the talking. They've been linking to some of the Twitch videos that Luis Scott Vargas, who's a well-known Magic player, he's been streaming it lately. So you guys can jump in there, watch it, and get an idea of the game style and how it flows. They've come up with some house rules that some people like. Just things like, no talking if you're dead, because you don't want to give away. Like, you obviously know who kills you when you're dead. They actually have these really cool animations that you'll see, depending on how they kill you. Like one of them, I remember they pushed you down and he pulls out a gun and shoots you in the head. Another one, there's a little tentacle that comes out and sticks through your face and goes out the back of your head. It's really kind of funny, like some of the stuff they've pulled off. But I definitely recommend everybody checking it out and joining the Discord.
Well,
if you don't know the Discord, it's on the forums. There's an Among Us topic on there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the other thing. Is like I know a lot of us have Steam and everything. We got to get names going. But I think that's all we have time for tonight. I want to thank Robbie for coming on. I want to thank Greg for being our guest star. We'll be back next week. We don't know who the guest is going to be yet, so stick around onto the forums as well as the Twitter. As soon as we hear from it, we're either going to have something to do with Texas Mini Worlds, or maybe we'll have somebody from the OCS. Maybe Paul Myers wants to come on and explain why him and B-Fred are button heads. So we'll see everybody next week. Take care.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks, guys. Take care.